Welcome to another discussion on the basics of AutoCAD. So for today's discussion, we have here a simple floor plan, and as you can see, it is composed of two different spaces. Also in this plan, we can see a representation of a door as well as its windows. And then you have here the walls, and also in this discussion, we will discuss how to properly place the dimensions. So to start, I have here a new drawing file. It already has my layers. So from 0.05, I have here 0.1, 0.3 dimensions. This will be discussed later on. And then this is the drawing of this plan. So we can see this is how it would look like on a CAD drawing. So again, you have here a lot of elements to be discussed. So to start, we need to get the dimensions of our floor plan. So it is composed of a rectangular space or that is measuring 5 by 3 meters, and then inside you have a partition that will divide the space into 3 and 2. So if we look closely, it's very important to see where the dimension lines hit. So as you can see, it is placed on the center of the walls. So it's very important so that we will know where to place our lines. So since this area is composed of a big rectangle measuring 5 by 3, so we can start by this one. So let's start making this big rectangle measuring 5 by 3 meters. So in my drawing area, I will create a rectangle measuring 5 by 3. So rectangle, enter, click, and then type the dimension. So D, enter. So that is 5, enter, 3, enter. So I have here my first rectangle. So now let's place this one into a layer, and let's call this one as the center line. So let's make a new layer for the center lines. So this is my center line, and then my center line will be color number 8 or gray, which means this is a 0.05 line or the thinnest line we have. So click this rectangle and place this one to the center line. So again, make a layer and then make a new one for the center line, and for its line type, let's place it to this one, center. So as you can see, we have here our center line already. But I want to make my center line a bit smaller, so I will change the line type scale of this one. So instead of the default value of 1, I will make this one smaller, so I will convert this one into a 0.5 value of the line type scale. So I have here now a smaller scale of the line type. Next is the other partition, which is measuring 2 coming from the right side. So what we will do now is, it's either we make a line from this side to this side by 2 meters, or we can create another rectangle measuring 2 by 3 meters. So rectangle, click, and then type D. So you can type in the dimensions. So that is 2, enter, by 3, enter. So click. So this is the other area. So this area is measuring 2 by 3 meters. So what we will do now is to place this one inside. So just match the properties. So now I have my two different spaces. Now, since it's located in the center, we need to do our walls. So the walls are measuring 0.2 meters. Again, it's 0.2 meters. So usually what we will do is we will make another line, or we will just offset the center line going inside and going outside by zero point 0.1 meters. So offset, O, enter, and then the distance of zero point 0.1 going inside and going outside. So now we have the thickness of the wall. You can also do this one to this side and also to this side. Okay, so this is one way of doing the walls. There is also another command that we call the multiline. So multiline works this way. So if this is your center line, we'll make three different components to differentiate the three variations of the multiline. So multiline works this way. So if you type ML, enter, that's multiline. So if you click on the center line or your guideline, it will give you two parallel lines. Okay? So as you can see, it gave me two parallel lines. So if you click on the line, it will highlight these two parallel lines, meaning these two lines are, or it belongs to one object. Okay, so how do we use the different variations? So first, we will discuss what are these three variations or three positioning of the multiline. So if you type in multiline, or the shortcut is ML, enter, you can see here on the command bar the different options. So you have here justification, scale, and style. So we will dwell on these two, the justification and the scale. So the first one is justification. So if you will edit the justification, J, enter. So you have here three options. You have top, zero, and bottom. So let's start with the first one, top. T, enter. So now it's placed on the top. So if you place in the multi-line, as you can see, the multi-line will be, or rather your guidelines will be placed on top of the multi-line. So again, if you use the top positioning of the multi-line, ML enter, and if you place it on your guideline, so click, you're just basically making a line. Okay, but this time it will give you two parallel lines. So as you can see, my parallel lines are placed along the guideline. So meaning the multi-line will be placed below because my guideline will be placed on top of the parallel line. Okay, so this is the first one. This is for the top. However, the other one, if we go back to the command, multi-line, enter, and then we type in J, enter. This is for the justification. And then now, let's change this one to 0. So Z, enter. So as you can see, if I click from this point to this point to the other endpoint, my multi-line will be placed at the center of my guideline. Okay? So this is for the other option, for the zero positioning. The other one, or the last one, so if we go back again to the multi-line, enter, J for the justification. Now, you have your bottom. So letter B, enter. So if you click from this point to this point, as you can see, the multi-line will be placed on top. Okay, or the guideline will be placed at the bottom of your multi-line. So you have your three different choices. Now, so we are done with the justification. So the other option that we were going to tackle is this, the scale. So the scale now is the distance between the two parallel lines, or we can say its thickness. So again, multi-line, enter. Now, let's check the justification, J, enter. So let's move it back to the top. T, enter. And then let's change the scale. So S, enter. Now, the default one is 1, meaning 1 meter is the distance between the parallel lines. So what we need is a 0.2 meter thickness. So we will use 0.2, 0.2, enter. So if we place it here, we now have the 0.2 thickness of a multi-line, which is this one. And then let's make the other one. Let's place it on the center. ML, justification, Z for 0, and then the scale. So S, enter. 0.2, enter. So as you can see, it's now placed at the center. And same as the other one. So ML, justification, B for bottom. So here. So justification is the positioning. Scale is the distance or the thickness of the multiline. So going back to our drawing, so instead of using the offset command, we can now use the multiline. So since this line is our center line, meaning our multilines will be placed, or we will use the positioning of the center so that our multilines will be placed equally on each side, or the center line will be placed at the center of the walls. So multiline, enter. Now for the scale, let's use 0.2. On the justification, let's use 0, enter. So what we need are points. Where does our multiline run? So let's start from here, and then click. Then proceed to this corner, and to this corner. And now, if you want to close a multiline, you have two options. It's either you click it to this point, so you go back to your starting point and then escape. So it will give you like this. Or you can use the other option. So again, multiline, enter, click the corners, and now instead of clicking the original point, what you will do is just type CL. So CL means close. So CL, enter. So it will connect your end lines to your original line. So as you can see, if I click one line, it will highlight the whole multiline. So the whole multiline is considered one object. So the good thing about this one is that you can easily change the layer of the lines. Okay, so same as the other one. So this one is another center line for the other partition. So what we'll do is just type ML, enter. So this is the multiline. We already set our justification and scale. We'll just click this point up to this point. So now we will change the layer of this one. So just match MA, enter. So for the walls, it is layered 0.3. So if we go back to our guide drawing, we are done with our walls. So what we need to do now is to determine the openings for the window and the doors. So for our window, it's located from the center. And then from the center, we will place a 1 meter opening. So what we'll do is to locate the center. So let's place a marker or a line. So line, enter. So we will locate the midpoint of this line. So let's make sure that you on your snap settings. It's located here, the object snap. So we will locate for the midpoint, which is this one. This would be our guide. Now, since the opening is 1 meter, we will offset this line by 0.5. So O, enter. So offset this one 0.5 meters to the top and to the bottom. And then since this is an opening, we need to trim this area. So TR, double enter, and just trim. And then erase this one. And then match the properties of this line and this line. So this is now your wall. And what I will do next is just make a rectangle from this point to this point. So we now have our openings or a representation of a window. And we will change the layer of the window to 0.1. So as you can see, it changes the color from white to red, meaning it's on the 0.1 layer. So we have our first opening. The other one is in the opposite side. This time, the thickness of the window is 0.60 meters. So again, it's located at the center. So what we are going to do is the same. Make a marker. So this is our center uh, locator. So from the center, we will offset this line by 0.3 to the top and to the bottom. So we now have our 0.6 meters opening. So trim this one and then just match the properties after. So same as the other side, we will just place a rectangle here, a representation of your window. Okay, so we now have the two windows. The next one is this, the opening for the doors. So as you can see from the center line of this partition, it's measured 0.50 meters, and then you will have a 0.1 opening. Okay, so let's locate first this one, this 0.50 meter. So I will make again a line. So it's from the center of this partition going to the left. So offset by 0.50 or 0.5, enter, going to the left. So you now have here the first line for your opening, which is this point. So what we need to do is to locate the opposite side or just offset this line by 1 meter because that is the width of the opening. So again, O, offset, and then the distance is 1 meter, 1, enter, and then from this point to this point, this is now my opening, my 1 meter opening. So I will erase this line because I will not need this one, and then trim, and then match the properties of the wall. So that is my opening. Now, I will make a representation of a door. So a door is composed of two components. You have here the door. This is the plan view of a door. And then this one, this quarter circle, is the representation of the door swing, meaning the direction of the door when it closes or opens. So this is its door swing. Okay, so you have here the door and its direction or swing. So the thickness of a door is 0.05 meters. So again, it's 0.05 meters by 1 meter because this is the width of the opening. So our opening will be the same width as our door. So what we need to do is we will make a rectangle. So let's make our door. So rectangle, REC, enter. So click and then type D for the dimension. So the thickness of our door is 0.05, enter. And the width will be 1, enter. And then click. So this is now our door. So I will move this one to here. The next is to do the rotation of the door or its swing. So this is a quarter circle. And then our midpoint will be at this point. Okay, where did we place our door? So from here, we will create our circle. So circle, enter. So from this point towards this opening. Okay, so as you can see, it intersects with our door. So we need to trim this excess lines. So now we have our door. So for the door, we have here red, meaning the door is on a 0.1 layer, while the door swing is on a 0.05 layer. So that's how we do the door. So we have here a line. We need to close this one because we need to hatch this one later on. Close, and then let's place this one into a 0.1 layer. So that's it. The next thing to do is the other door. So again, for this one, we will start from the center line, meaning from the center of the wall, going downwards by 0.50. And then the width of the opening is 0.60 meters. So from here, I will make a guideline so that I can easily determine when I offset this one. So offset, enter. So this is measured 0.50, 0.5, enter. So from this point, from the center towards the going down, that is the 0.50. Then I will extend this one. This is now my marker. And then next is my opening, 0.60. So I will just offset my marker by 0.60. So O, enter. So the distance is 0.60 meters, and then offset going downward. So I will just trim this one and also this portion, and then match my properties. So you have your opening. Now we do the door. So same process as what we did here. So first create your door. So it will have the same thickness as this one. So rectangle, click and type D, enter for the dimension. So the thickness is 0.05, enter, and the width is 0.60, enter. So click. So you have here your door. I will rotate this one, and then I will place it here. Next thing to do is to place the door swing. So again, the door swing will be from this point up to the opening, and then erase these excess lines, and then place or just match the properties of the other door. And then again, we will place a line here, okay, so that it will close. Okay, so now we have our floor plan. So what's left is the hatches. Okay, so I have here three different hatches. So I have here 1, 2, and 3. So as you can see, there is a hatch inside the walls. Okay, so let's start with this one. So I'm going to hatch this one. So H, enter. So I will select my boundaries. So this point, and also include this one, and then enter. So it's important to place this line so that our space will be closed, and then we can place the hatch, because if we remove this line, you cannot simply hatch this area. Because remember, when you hatch an object or a space, make sure that that specific area is enclosed. Okay, so I will now select the hatch for this area. So I will use this, separate this one. And then as you can see, the default size is 1, but the pattern is a bit big. So what we need to do is to edit the size of the pattern. So what you need to do is just click the hatch and then change the value. So from 1, let's make this one smaller. So change the value of 1 to, let's say, 0.5. So it's a bit big. So let's change it again to 0.1. So it's a bit bigger. So let's change this one to a smaller scale. So let's try 0.05. Enter. So that's it. No? This is my desired size of the pattern. So now, let's make a layer for the hatch. So as you can see, I already created my hatch layer. So it's color gray, color number 8. So meaning the thickness would be 0.05. So again, it's gray and 0.05. So that is my first hatch. My second hatch is on this portion. So hatch, enter. So click this one and please include this area right here. Enter. And then change the pattern. So hatch, and we will look for a pattern. So I am using this one, this angle. And then, so I think this is my desired size of the pattern. So no need to change the size. So what I need to change is the layer. So I will place this one into the hatch layer. So as you can see, it changes the color of the hatch as well as this one. Now let's change this one to the hatch layer. Okay, next is the hatch inside the walls. So what I use are diagonal lines. So let's place the hatch. So this one. So locate the areas you need to fill with hatch. So enter. So now my hatch for the walls is a bit bigger. So let's change the value of this one to make it smaller. Let's try 0.5. Okay, and then place this one to the hatch layer. So there are portions wherein we did not place the hatch. So if we make another hatch on this portion, as you can see, it gave us a different size of what was being placed during the first placement of the hatch. So instead of editing it again, what you can do is just match the properties of the existing hatch. So if you want this one to become like this, so this one will become our source object. So what we need to do is just to match the properties. So MA, enter. So my source object is this one. Click, and then just match it here. So as you can see, it follows. Same as for this area. So let's try. MA, match, click. This is my source object. And then if you click on this area or in this specific hatch, it will follow the source object or your source hatch pattern. Okay, so instead of clicking it and then editing it again one by one, you can just simply match an existing hatch. So we are already done with our floor plan. So what's next is to place the dimensions. Okay, so the proper thing when placing the dimensions is it must be readable and organized. So as you can see, I started from the small details, just like this one. So from here to here, before I place the total size or the total dimension with on this side, same as here. So I started with the small details below, inside, and then the outermost portion will be the total size of this area, same as the other portions. Okay, so that's how we do the dimensioning. So you start from the small details. It must be located inside. So what's placed at the outermost portion of the dimensions is its total size. Okay, so in our drawing, okay, we will now place the dimensions. So the first thing to do is simply make one dimension. Okay, so we will have our default dimension. So go to the dimension and then use the linear. Okay, we will explain on the next discussion the difference between each dimension. So for this one, we will just simply use linear. So go to the dimension and then click linear. Okay, so let's try to make this one from this point. So that's the reason why we need to check where are the dimensions being placed. So for this example, it's placed at the center. So our dimensions will be based from center to center, meaning from center of the wall, and it will end at the center of a wall. Okay, so let's start with the linear. So from this point, center point to this center point, and then we have here, and then it will just follow. Now, where do you place the dimension? So let's place it here. Click. So now you need to check what are the different elements you need to edit with regards to the default dimension. So the first one, as you can see, is the number of zeros. Okay, we need to change this one. So it gives us a lot of zeros, or a lot of decimal points. The next one is the size of excuse me, the size of the arrows. Let's make this one smaller, as well as this line, no, this extension lines. So the important thing about placing one dimension first is that we can see what are the things that we need to change. Okay, so we will change the size of the text, the number of decimal points, as well as the placement. So as you can see, the default one is the dimensions, or the units are placed inside or in between the arrows. Now we will place it above the dimension line, just like this one. Okay, so again, it's important to place an example or your guide dimension so that you will know what are the things that you need to uh, edit. Okay, so where do we edit these dimensions? So we go to the dimension style. So that is dim style, dim style. Enter. So it will give you this one. So the default one is this standard. Okay, we will use this one. We will edit this standard one because this is what we're using. So to edit this one, click this area and then modify. And then as you can see, you have here different options. So you have here the lines, the symbols and arrow. You can change the symbol or the arrow type, the text, the units, and so on. So we will change our dimensions based on uh, what was in the dimension that we made, just like such as this one. Okay, so again, we need to change its height, the size of the arrow, the placement of the text, and this extension lines. Okay, so go back to the dim style, enter. So click the standard and modify. So let's start with the text. Okay, so let's change our text height to 0.1. And then for the placement, let's place it above the dimension line, such as this one. This is for the vertical dimensions. For the horizontal dimensions, let's place it center. So this is correct. And then the alignment will be, instead of horizontal, okay, so if you click the horizontal, it means that when you look at the dimensions, the text will be aligned horizontally. But if we click this one, aligned with dimension style, the text will follow the orientation of the dimension. Okay, so for this one, it follows this dimension horizontally. This one is another orientation, and this one is an uh, angle dimension. So the text will follow the angle of the dimension line. Okay, so that is the alignment. And then let's place it above so that our dimension text is placed above this dimension line. Okay, for the symbols and arrow, we need to change the arrow size to 0.1. And then here, the primary units now will give us the number of decimal places. So the default one, we have 4 decimal places, and we just need 2 decimal places. Okay, so the text is already done. The arrow size. Next is the lines. So this area here, as you can see, this is the extend beyond dimension line. So we will cut this one a bit shorter. So instead of 0.18, what we will use is just 0.1. Okay, so if everything is okay, already set, just click this one, okay. So basically, dimension style setting is a trial and error. Okay, until you reach to a point that you are already satisfied with the settings of your dimensions. Okay, so click OK and then close. So now it changes. So if you are already satisfied with this one, you can now proceed with placing the other areas. But I want this text to go a bit lower. So I will go back to the dimension style. So dim style. And then modify. And then I will go to the text. And then here, the placement of the text. So the offset from the dimension line. So I want to place my text a bit lower. So I will change the value from 0.9 to 0.05. And then okay, and then close. So as you can see, the text move lower. Okay, so now I can proceed with placing the other details. So I will start from here, then place another dimension from this point to this point, and then here. And then after, I'll just move this one a bit lower. Also this one. So make sure these lines are aligned. So what's next is the total dimension of this point to this point. So now 5. Then the other side. So always start with the small details. And then the outermost portion of the dimension will be its total size. Okay, proceed with the other corners or the other sides. So make sure that the lines are aligned so that it is very presentable to look at. This point to this point. So make sure that your object snap is turned on so that you can snap your dimensions. Here, the other side. And then the outermost portion is the total width. So what's lacking is this inside dimensions. So we'll just place this one and then we are done. 0.5 from center to this point, and also to this point. So let's move this one a bit lower. Okay. Now, before I forget, we will make another layer for the dimensions. So I will name this one dim. This is for the dimension. So the color is red, meaning this is 0.1. So I will select one, place it on my dimension layer, and just match it to the other dimensions. So I'll match it to this dimension and this dimension and this dimension. Okay. Another thing with dimensions is that you can also place the specific units of each dimension. So for example, let's go back to dim style and then modify. It's located at the primary units, and then if you want to place the specific units of each dimension, you can place it here. It's either on the prefix or suffix. So let's try the suffix. So let's place it m because our units is in meters. So if I place a suffix m here, okay, and then close, so all my dimensions will have its own units. No, it's in meters. Okay, so I think we're already done. What's next is to convert this one into a PDF file, which was discussed on our previous activities. Okay, so that's it for this discussion, and I hope that you learned something from this one.